Brian. I'm going to take you through the steps that it takes to line up the timing marks on, this is a particular one, is a 2000 Ford Escort ZX2. It's got the 2-liter in it. There are also some other cars like the Ford Focus that'll have this motor in it. This one's unique because you line it up by physically holding the camshafts in place and then lining up top dead center, pulling the spark plug out of cylinder number 1. Number 1 is the first one that's the closest to the timing belt. With any car, the cylinder that's the closest to the timing chain or the timing belt in front of the motor, whatever, is the one that's number 1. Take a screwdriver like this, put it down the hole. I don't know if you can see that very well. I've got the spark plug removed. I have this down in there, and then with a wrench, you turn the wrench and you watch, and that screwdriver, you'll see it start to go up. You want to be careful with your threads as you do this. But basically you can find number 1 that way. Now what I have here is on these cams, these are loose. These are only finger tight. It allows these cams to be able to move. I've got the timing belt all tensioned and run. And then back here, what I've done, you can buy a tool from Ford or you can make your own. I took a bracket from a lift kit I took off a truck, and I basically cut it with a torch. I welded the ends up to make them thicker than the openings that are at the end of these cams. When you line up the cams, you want to make sure that these are lined up horizontally. That's what this plate accomplishes, is it holds them in place. It used to be with the older ones, you could run a file or something over the top here and then just slip it in there, but now these are below the surface, so as you can see that these are set up below the surface. So they line up like that, and I made it so that it bottoms out. There's a little gap between the cylinder head and this. I know it looks crude, but it's actually pretty precise, and I used a mic to mic the thickness to get those so that they fit exactly in the slots. And when you line these up, now are these off 180 degrees or are they on? Well, you can look further up down the shaft and you can see these, how they stick up. That indicates that you're on where you need to be. So you have this on, you have the cams loose, and the reason why all this cam loosening stuff is that there's no cotter pin, there's no Woodruff key, there's nothing that holds these in place. All that holds it is just simply that you know, they're bolted down, so you want to loosen those to get them dead on. If this engine's not dead on with the timing, you'll have issues with it running poorly. You'll have a lot of spark plug knock. And this one, basically what happened, the reason why most people have to do a timing belt is they'll crank it over, there won't be any compression. The compression's lost due to this hydraulic system here. This is the control for the hydraulics. It's got a little hydraulic clutch. You can see that this cam wheel is not the same. This is just a basic cast cam wheel. This one, it's got all kinds of hydraulics and stuff in it. That's for their variable cam technology. It's kind of like what Honda has with their VTEC. So basically it adjusts the exhaust cam so that you get best performance out of the motor. It's great for performance, but this one being hydraulic, if you let this vehicle sit for a few months, the oil will drain out of the system, create air bubbles in it, and then when you go to fire it up again, it'll run okay and it'll get worse and worse because the air will work its way through and eventually make this cam be off. It was off 45 degrees when I took this apart, and it wouldn't crank over. It would crank over, but basically it didn't have any compression, so it wouldn't run, it wouldn't fire up. So that's what we're doing. So I made a tool for it to fit. I have another tool for the older models. I think 99 to 2001 I think are the same, where you have that recessed lineup. The older ones you can just throw a file across the top. So, but it's important to loosen the nuts here. If you don't do that, oftentimes that's what slides. You get resistance between the timing belt and the hydraulics making the timing off. And so, I mean, I think that they become loose and slide the wheels. So you just got to loosen them so you can slide them back. And that's how you do it. Good luck.